Fantastic. Well, good evening, everyone, to another ASEA Global Expansion Team Zoom. We thought we'd get the troops together tonight and talk about a very important subject called your why. Because if you don't know what your why is, then when times get tough, you're probably going to quit, get distracted, something. You have to know why you're doing this. The clearer that picture is, the better that you, the more likely you are to get to your end goal. So we're going to dive into this, why these people got started in the first place, why they saw ASEA as the vehicle to get them what they were really truly after. So let's start with the amazing Tammi Gates. Tammi, what's your why? What was your why when you got started, when you were introduced to ASEA?
Well, my background is that I was a travel agent turned banker, turned EMT, and I just was doing anything and everything I could do to help our family get by. Now, Chuck, when I met Chuck in 1976, he taught me that working 8 to 5 Monday through Friday was not going to achieve us our hopes and dreams, that we needed a lot more time to put into our family. But things weren't really working out in all of our entrepreneurship endeavors. And when we found ASEA, it was actually 3 nights from tonight will be our 12-year anniversary when we found ASEA. And so it was Christmas season. It was 9 o'clock at night. It was a Sunday night. And nobody's brain cells or mind was thinking about a business, right? But we got a phone call. What was wrong with everything that we were trying to do is that at raising a family, I was putting all of the best part of myself into someone else. Everything I had to give, I was giving all day long to somebody else's dream. And then when I got home at night, my family got what was left over. So when we were phoned on that Sunday night, right before Christmas at 9 o'clock at night, something inside of both Chuck and I said, we want to hear more, because we knew there was something more to life than 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, give to somebody else. And when I dive deep into my why, it starts with, well, I want to be financially healthy and I don't want to be financially embarrassed. And why don't I want to be financially embarrassed? Because I don't like the feelings that brings. And why don't I like the feelings that brings? But if I keep unpacking it and keep peeling off the lemon, at the end of the day, the bottom of the line, I want to be in control. I want to be in control of my finances. And that is why Chuck and I have worked so hard for 12 years, is that we want to be in control of our finances. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but my husband, Chuck, is probably one of the most generous men on the planet. And he will give and give and give no matter how full or empty his bucket is. In fact, we love to give, like the good book says, 10% of our earnings to our church. And for the last 3 years in a row, Cindy, our giving statement has come back at the end of the year, and it's had a comma in it. But the exciting point is that there are 3 digits in front of the comma for the last 3 years. And that just makes our heart sing to be able to give like that. So that's part of our why. And thank you for letting me share.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So control and generosity, and ultimately giving back to something that's really near and dear to your heart. Yeah, incredible. Let's go to Debbie Wetzler. Debbie, I know that you needed something in your life when ASEA came along. And so what was your why? Why did you decide to press through thick and thin, struggle and easy, whatever it took to get to where you are now? What was your why?
Well, like Tammi, I had been an entrepreneur, and I had owned my own business for many years as an interior designer and loved it. And But I was offered a job by a man, so I stepped down from that for a little while to help him build his children's website, and it was an amazing website. However, 2008 hit and he did go bankrupt, and I had never had financial problems in my whole life. And it was really something that was petrifying, especially at my age. And so when he went bankrupt, I literally was left with no money coming in at all. I had an elderly mother. My father had passed away. I had no husband. I'd become divorced. I had one child living at home. Luckily, the other one had moved on to college. And I literally had no money at all coming in. And I had a very small savings account basically after the divorce. And I went through that whole savings just trying to keep a roof over my child's head and putting food on the table. And I finally got a job after months of searching because there was such a hiring freeze going on that I was working as a server and I was working double shifts. And what happened was that I just got behind on my mortgage. I couldn't work enough hours to make enough money to make everything happen. And when they sent me the letter of foreclosure, I was down on my knees, and you didn't know that, but I think you felt the energy, Cindy, because I was sobbing that night. I had no idea what to do. And I was just praying for something. I said, I can do this. I want to restore my financial dignity, but I want something that can help people. That was my first ask. And you called me the very next day before I got out of bed. That story is something that I've told over and over again, but one of the things that came up just recently was the fact that one of the ladies I was just speaking with said, you know, my children just, I had a couple of times for Thanksgiving, we just had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And it just struck me. And I answered her by saying, do you know that my children for 3 years in a row had no Thanksgiving at all? Sorry. Because I worked a double shift on Thanksgiving because that was the best money. And one of my greatest memories was my daughter coming in with flowers to say, thank you, Mom, for being my mom. And I'm sorry I can't be with you for Thanksgiving, but I wanted to bring you this to tell you how much I loved you. If anyone can relate to that, that's how broke I was. And I just remember the first time going into a grocery store, I had always been panic stricken before because I could never afford enough money to buy things. So I always had to be very careful what I bought. And the first time I made a paycheck from ASEA, I was able to go in a grocery store. And I literally had a panic attack saying, okay. And I had to think through, and I thought, I got my paycheck from ASEA, and this really turned around my life because I had enough money at that point to be able to buy some food. It was when I first got started for Jackie and me to bring home that day. And a lot of people aren't put in that situation, but many people are. And if you have ever been totally bankrupt and couldn't buy gifts, I think the thing that tore me up the most was not being able to buy my children Christmas gifts, not one thing at Christmas for 3 years in a row. That was a why. That was a huge why. That pushed me every single day. Not only did I realize how important this technology was and it would change people's lives, like Danny Doyle, whose life was saved by this, and Tammi Gates, whose back was horrible for years, and it took 11 months. Just so many people that this touched. I knew how big this was. So I just really wanted people to know about this. That was my ultimate goal, is to tell people about this. But it's restored my financial dignity. And now I'm able to pay that forward, and I'm able to give product to people if they really can't afford it. I can buy Christmas gifts again. I can share joy with people, and it has made such a difference in my life. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tyler Norton says the best gift that we can give, or the best act of friendship that oftentimes we'll give, is the gift of ASEA. So yeah, that was certainly the case in your case. Well, thank you so much, Debbie. Marcia White, what was your why? Why did you get started in this endeavor called ASEA?
Well, the story is somewhat similar to the earlier two ladies. When we started in ASEA, we were at a point where we were looking to get out of our house before it got foreclosed. We were trying to find anything that was smaller and anybody that would sell our house, would buy our house, because it was kind of an albatross. It was a big old rancher with a whole lot of maintenance needed done to it. We were at a point where Jerry was working another business and a little bit of money was coming in that, but I was having to teach school and run a swim school in the summers and bring in a foreign exchange student so that we'd get some income off that, do costuming at school, do anything I could to bring in a little bit of money. We were kind of at the point, we were buying Christmas presents for our kids, but it was only because we had a credit card with a huge limit. And that credit card was getting totally maxed out. And the home equity line was totally maxed out. We were at the point we had a balloon payment. Didn't know how many more months we were going to survive there. And my kids would ask me, Mom, why don't you go out with your girlfriends? And, I couldn't put the gas in the car to do that. I had to do the gas in the car to get them to school or to do something that was important. And we owned a Prius at that time too, so that didn't take a whole lot of gas. But I guess the big thing for both of us is we had gotten to the point of trying so hard to keep everything afloat and he was working here and I was working there, and we had no ability to dream anymore. We were just existing. And here we were at this time when our kids, we should have been enjoying them. We had, one that was out of college, one that was, I think, in missions, one that was, a freshman in college, freshman in college, and another one that was looking to go to school the next year. And we weren't enjoying that time with them. As Vertus Norton says, you make money so you can make memories. And we weren't being able to make those memories other than just put one foot. I mean, I can literally remember sitting at the stove, cooking, whatever I could get together and thinking, just put one more foot in front of the other, one more foot in front of the other, and you'll get through this day. And then we can get on to the next day. And praise God that we finally, decided to do ASEA. And once we did, our why changed a little, but we had to really work on learning to dream. We had to really, I can remember walking on I think we started ASEA in the fall, and I can remember a January walk. It was cold and snowy, and we were walking and we started playing what we started calling the what if game. And we just sort of back and forth between us to think, what if we made $1,500? What would it do for our family? What would we do with it? And we really had to work going back and forth to be able to even dream what we would do with that much extra money. And then, as it went on, what would you do with 5,000? And then finally, we've been blessed. We've been able to help a lot of people. And finally, like Tammi said, we've been able to get some whys that are pretty exciting because we've taken care of our family. And now we can start to take care of others and give. And boy, there's nothing better than that feeling of being able to see a need and to be able to fill it. And I think that's become a big part of our why now is to be able to give. I mean, we're in our 60s and we should be able to do that. We should be able to be in a financial place where you can have your family taken care of. If you need to, fly your kids in for Christmas or have a family reunion.
Or have weddings.
Yeah. I mean, that was something that was, I would lay in bed at night and think there's no way we can pay for our daughters to get married. It's going to be in the backyard. It's going to be a potluck. And sorry, girls, that's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be just like you've played a million times dress up, but that's all we can do. And our two girls got married within 6 months of each other. And we were able to do the wedding of their dreams, which fortunately weren't totally extravagant, but pay cash for them. And that's pretty exciting when you can give your kids those things and help them to get those starts. So I'd say, we went from being, just existing to learning how to dream. And now, actually we're getting to a point where we have to start to play the what if game again, because you just are constantly peeling back those onion layers, and you have to really keep readjusting your whys as your ability to dream becomes bigger.
Well, the boat was sinking fast enough that we had to walk away from a 60-acre property with a house that I built. And 16 years later, after finally finding ASEA, we've become able to come back and buy back the house and all the property. Back to you.
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah. From rags to riches and getting to bring your own custom home back into your house. What an incredible.
The other thing that was really important about that was when my oldest son, who had kind of moved away from really being in touch with the family, walked in the front door.
He was back,
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, listen, we're going to move on because the time is going quickly here. Ed Wiens, I know when you were introduced to ASEA, you were in a certain spot. Why the heck did you decide to do this? What was your why that drove you through whatever you had to do to make this ASEA business work?
Well, if it's okay, I'd like to crank the clock back just a little bit further than just the ASEA why, because that's really when I first was introduced to network marketing a long time ago. Life was more simple in some ways. I had 4 kids still. They were at home, small kids. I actually 3 at that time. And I had a 7-year-old daughter who just wanted to go to Disneyland. And I wanted to be able to take my kids to Disneyland. We'd never been. It was just out of reach. I worked for nonprofits, and my parents were missionaries, and we often said in that world that the pay is lousy when you work for the Lord, but the retirement benefits are out of this world. And so the reality of it was tough. And so when I latched on to the network marketing business model, it was so I could take my kids to Disneyland. And I still today, it's still an emotional moment for me to remember walking across the parking lot with my 7-year-old daughter in hand with the big Disneyland sign, and to see the grin on her face as we went through the gates at Disneyland. And she's 42 today and is an absolutely still a Disney fanatic. I'll never go without her because she knows every nook and cranny of the park and how to maximize the experience. So, but that was, in fact, what really leading up to that, the kids would sometimes ask me, why was I not home? Why was I out in the evening, presenting of the business? And I would say, honey, my kids, I'd say, I'm doing this, just consider this a Disneyland meeting. I'm doing this so we can go to Disneyland. And from then on, it was, if I was home, Dad, why aren't you out tonight presenting the business someplace? Because they wanted me out there doing the Disneyland meetings. And that was just a real graphic experience. And it's, we've had many whys, of course, since then. And, circumstances, of course, did change in my world. And I think what really flipped the switch for me was with ASEA, really 7 years ago, was just, you go through ups and downs in life, and you go through spots that are sometimes less comfortable. And we just had some circumstances develop that just put pressure. And I think sometimes the why is to be able to move beyond the daily grind of survival to get to a place where you can start thinking about significance, not just survival. And I think that was the drive to eliminate the struggle, and to if Rebecca were here on this call, she would tell you her biggest why is just to not have to live by the shift calendar, the shift clock, and to have time freedom. And when you can get to the point, if you can visualize getting to the point where you can make decisions about your life, your calendar, your agenda, not driven by can I afford it, but really driven by, does it fit my priorities? Does it fit the calendar? Is it the right thing to do at this particular time? And the affordability issue is off the table of discussion. That's a different way to live. I come from, the missions background. It's part of my DNA. And, today, one of the most thrilling projects I'm a part of is helping organize retreats for missionaries in locales all around the world. and get to organize those. We've gone to Poland, been to Thailand. We've got one planned for Vietnam. Just amazing experiences, and to be able to give back to a project like that is just part of what makes it fulfilling for me. I think we consider ourselves sort of a conduit. You know, if you're blessed to be a blessing. Tammy's mentioned that, and some of the rest of you, I know that's a big part of your life as well. So I love your story, Debbie. I often tell people that you could probably go back and buy the restaurant today. You wouldn't, because of all the hassles, but that's just, you know, everybody's got not every why is monetary. You know, Michael Jordan already had world championship rings when he was making the push for the next one. It's just about legacy. It's about significance. So however you have to define it, lock onto it, because you'll never find, in my opinion, a more equitable vehicle to fulfill your push for your why than this business model. And certainly within the universe of this business, this company stands out as unique and powerfully capable of delivering the reality of your why.
Fantastic. I love the Disneyland idea because it's very specific. It's very measurable. You knew exactly what it was going to cost. And so it was just a matter of, working until you had that amount in your bank account.
Yeah.
Love it. So
when you share it with the right people, then they push you. They push you to Dad, don't stay home, get out there.
that's right. Gina Moran, I know that you had a very unique situation and somebody cared enough about you to reach out to you and tell you about ASEA. And you grabbed this business by the horns. And what drove you? What was your why? Where were you when you first learned about ASEA, and what drove you to get to where you are now?
Absolutely, Cindy. Well, I come from a variety of backgrounds of careers, from, everything from working in my father's grocery store when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, to being an animal control officer, a security guard, a waitress. I think I've done a little bit of it all, to car sales and even boat sales, which was one of my favorite. But when ASEA came to me, I had kind of retired from that and become a full-time mom of 20 years. I'd been a home mom, homeschooling the kids, and that was my newfound career. And we had just lost a $1.2 million home we were building. Went through foreclosure and then, of course, bankruptcy. And at the time, my husband had lost his computer business and his computer job. So we weren't just at rock bottom, we were below rock bottom. We were in dire straits. And because of all those hardships and challenges, his life took a path that I just could not follow. And I'm sure some of you out there today can identify with that. When someone makes poor choices in their life, even if it's your spouse, sometimes you have to decide, to stay above the line and try to do the right thing for the 4 children that I still had at home. And I'm getting really emotional, but I don't think that Jerry White or Dr. Walker knew at the time that they brought this to me that we were literally starving. I mean, we didn't have food. I didn't know what roof we were putting over our head. We actually had friends who had let us stay in a home. And I told my girls that we were going to have to go out and do whatever it took to get food on the table. And we did. We went out and shoveled horse manure out of my friends' barns, and we cleaned other people's toilets. And I say that in all humility today, that, I was willing to do whatever it took to put food on the table. And that's really where my mind was, just survival, like some of these people are talking about today, but this was real survival for me. So, when Jerry invited me to join this thing, it was like I knew I couldn't afford to, but I also knew I couldn't afford not to. I couldn't afford to pass up an opportunity that could give us a chance to get out of this rabbit hole, this dire pit. And all I could think about was my 4 girls. They say if your why has a face, it has more meaning and value. Well, I had 4 of them looking at me, and I didn't know what I was going to do other than I had to do everything it took to just keep us above water. And little did I know that putting, like Marcia said, one step in front of the other and just continuing to work alongside of these men and just align myself with the team and be teachable and coachable to something that I didn't know anything about. They say you can know your why, but you may not have the how. And I didn't have the how. And I had to, figure it out as I went along. But and we stumble and we made, I made mistakes, did a lot of things wrong. And, but that just helped me to grow, right? And it was probably more about the personal growth that helped me to keep growing and to keep going. And once I realized that, wait a minute, I can put food on the table, I can put a roof over our head. And next thing you know, I'm making an income that most people only dream of. My why got bigger. My why changed and I began to dream again. I was able to dream because in the beginning I was like, Cinderella man. I call myself the Cinderella of ASEA. I was like Russell Crowe. I was fighting for milk and boy, stay out of my way, right? A hungry mama bear is nobody you want to mess with, but it got so much bigger and my belief expanded and I realized, wait a minute, I can do this. Even though I don't have a lot of, education and background in this, if I just listen and I stay open to learning new things, we can do this. And Cindy, life began to change. You guys know I traveled the world with my daughters. ASEA has taken us on some of the most beautiful trips to Ireland and Panama and Cancun and all over the world, Italy, France. Anyway, it's been a beautiful journey, something I could have never, ever imagined. But today my why is just, it's grown so much more that it's like some of you were talking about, it's more about time freedom. Time is the most precious commodity that we have. And every minute that goes by, you can't buy it back. And today I'm so grateful that I have the freedom of choice, that I can wake up and decide not only what I'm going to do with my time, but who I'm going to spend it with. And it's been so beautiful to not just enjoy that gift myself, but be able to give that to other people, to watch so many other lives changed and blessed and transformed because of what I've been able to accomplish here, because I just felt the fear and did it anyway, got out of my own way, opened my mouth, and have been able to help so many other people achieve their dreams and goals because of their whys. That's what inspires and empowers me today. So I just want to encourage you all, you can do this.
Love it, Gina. Cinderella story. Absolutely love it. Danny Doyle, tell us about you. What motivated you? I know you didn't come from a network marketing background. Why did you choose to take ASEA by the horns and make this thing happen? And what pushed you to get through all the highs and the lows?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, 10 years ago, I say in my presentations, if you come to me with Amway this way or that way, I would have definitely run the other way. Couldn't stand network marketing coming from traditional business. The only reason I had a look at ASEA in the first place when Bart Cotter reached out to me was for my health. And a lot of people know my story, didn't have my health, and I was selfish. It was all going to be about me. Like Tammi, initially wasn't interested in building a business whatsoever. But obviously things evolved over time. And I can hear my story actually and my reason and my why and all of your stories, which were just absolutely amazing. But I mean, everything from, we were bankrupt and lost everything from losing my health prior and went through a very tough time financially. But as I said, it was all about my health coming into ASEA. Once I started regaining my health, the priorities changed. It became that responsibility to help others. That hasn't changed. So my why hasn't changed from day one because my health's been returned. And that's what drives me every single day. But obviously, like, your goals change and all these things evolve. For me now, it's a lot bigger. Okay, financially, we're set, everything's fine there. That's just fallen into place. So that was sort of there in the background. But you know, a lot of you guys are out there helping people financially. We've got our foundation. That is a huge reason why I want to make more money, which is a byproduct of helping more people. So like Tammi said, a big chunk of what she does goes to the church. We're doing things all the time, and that's the most satisfying thing. So that's a huge reason why, and that's sort of evolved over time. The more money we make, the more we like to help people. But I mean, I can go on and on with this, but I just want everybody to know that 80% of the reason, or 80% of what we need in this industry in place to build it is the reason, or you need to know your why. 80%, it's a massive chunk of what we're doing here. And you know, Deb, as soon as Deb started telling her story or finishing it, and a few tears come up, you need that why to make you cry. You need that emotional reason to keep you in the game. And that's that emotional reason to keep you in the game, that's going to put on your Kevlar suit and vest, and you're not going to get taken out. There's no way in the world, if you've got a strong enough reason the reason why you're building this business, you're not going to be taken out of the game. So I think what we're trying to put across to everybody here is how important it is to have that reason, to know why you're building an ASEA business. It's the first thing and the ongoing thing that we need to get where we need to go with what we're doing. So that's a long story short.
Fantastic, fantastic. And last but not least, Bo Buck, I know where we were, but you tell the audience where we were and what your why was when we were introduced to ASEA by Chuck and Tammi Gates.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. I tell you, when we got involved, or when we were introduced to ASEA by Chuck and Tammi, thank you very much. I was working in the construction industry as a project manager. We were doing all right financially. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot left at the end of the month, but we were paying the bills. But I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning and coming home at 8:30 at night, 5 days one week, 6 days the next, off and on. So really, we didn't have a personal life. We didn't have a social life. I was actually building a replica 1860s Western town for a billionaire up in the mountains, an hour and a half away, over a pretty dangerous mountain pass, at least during the winters and the rain gushes. And, I just started thinking to myself all the time. I was like, man, I am just talk about building the best example of building someone else's dream. I'm building this guy's Western town in the middle of the mountains. And he had already committed to give it to the Smithsonian when he died. So you're talking full quality, all this stuff. Bottom line is, after we got involved with ASEA, it took 26 months to hit the number that we needed to hit so that I could leave my job. And it happened in July of 2012. And I said to Cindy, I said, I'm just going to work until the end of the year. We'll have a little, build a little bit more of a cushion or whatever. And then I'll quit and I won't go back to work after the holidays. And that was a great incentive for me. Well, a month later, we had actually gone on a vacation into Michigan to an old family compound on a lake. And somewhere in that lake, I contracted a virus in my inner ear canal. Ended up on the floor vomiting for 11 hours. I know that's nice to hear. And then to the emergency room for 3 days. And when I got out of there, I had lost my equilibrium and I couldn't go back to work. Now, let me tell you, we had both of our kids in college. As I said, we basically had no money left at the end of the month. If we hadn't had ASEA, if we hadn't worked on our plan B before we needed our plan B, we would have lost everything. We would have had to pull our kids out of college. I can't even give you, an idea of how grateful we are that we were able to get involved with ASEA, and that was our why at that time. Try to keep it short here. I know we're running late.
Yeah, it's so fantastic just to reflect on where ASEA has brought each and every one of the people on this call. And so the purpose of this call tonight was just to really encourage each and every one of you to really dig down and figure out in your guts why you're building an ASEA business, because the stronger your why is, the more important it is to you, the more likely you are to succeed. Like Gina said, when you know what it is, get out of the way, because, it doesn't matter if you say yes, no, or maybe, but you can just tell when somebody has conviction in their heart that they're going to do it with you or without you. So we just wanted to encourage each and every one of you to really peel back the layers of the onion, get to the real core of the matter of what's driving you to build your ASEA business, and then you can live whatever life you decide to live. So we went a little bit long tonight, but really want to thank all of our panelists tonight. And we want to wish every single one of you an incredible holiday. Please allow yourself to dream and figure out what that morsel is, that why at your core that drives you to succeed, because there is plenty of room at the top. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have an incredible, incredible holiday. Good night.